2016, the weather has not been kind to the Orioles. They have played in the cold, they have played in the rain, and they almost played in the snow. But despite the elements, the Birds have found a way to stay hot. And now they have come to the warmth of Texas. Will the Birds stay hot with the warmer weather? Find out next. It's the O's and Rangers on MASN. It's the Orioles on MASN from Arlington, Texas. On a lovely night for baseball, the Orioles open up a 4-game series against the Texas Rangers. And hi, everyone. I'm Jim Hunter with Jim Palmer. Jim making his season debut tonight. Do you feel like the rookie?
Not quite. I wish that was the case, but that's not the case.
Well, Mike Bordick got off to a 7-1 start, so I guess all the pressure's on you tonight. And, Jim, it was fun as it lasted. The Orioles yesterday losing for the first time. You knew it was inevitable. A loss eventually was going to come, but I think we have to keep in mind what is important over the course of a year, and that is winning your series, and the Orioles have done that so far.
Well, they have, and you can see, I mean, they won their first 3 series. Now, you also go back and look at the 3 series. Last year, they were 0-7 against the Twins. They win 3 in a row. They beat Chris Archer. They win 2 in a row against Tampa. They got Price out of the game, all $217 million. So, again, it's not only how you're winning them, they're averaging over 5 runs a game. Collectively, the pitching, even though the starting could be a little bit better, is right a little bit over 3 runs a game. So you put 5 runs on the board, only give up 3, you'll take your chances. Tonight, a little different story. Last year against the Rangers, just think about it, 0-7 against the Twins, 1-6 against the Rangers. You got a chance to get off on the right foot, but you're going to have to do it against Cole Hamels.
Yeah, great pitching matchup tonight. Cole Hamels against Chris Tillman as each team sends its ace to the mound. We're coming back to Arlington, Texas. Lineups at first pitch are next. Orioles baseball on MASN is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. It is a lovely night in Arlington, Texas, as the Orioles open up this 4-game series. Here's our BGE home game time temperature. A pleasant 71 degrees, just a slight breeze, and that humidity up at 57%. BGE Home is Baltimore's home team for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Why would you call anyone else? So the Orioles looking to keep this early season roll going. Here is the starting lineup for the O's, brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Rickard, Machado, and Jones back in the lineup tonight. He's batting third. Chris Davis in that cleanup spot. Since 2012 in April, he has been a traditional fast starter. Trumbo DHs tonight, then Wieters, Hardy, Scope, and Reimold.
And take a look at the 32-year-old left-hander. They traded for him right before the trading deadline last year. What did he do? He goes 7-1, won his last 9 decisions. They haven't lost in 12 games. So he's been everything that you really expect him. 6 for 2. They got Diekman out in the bullpen. They gave up a lot of guys that have really retooled the Phillies. One of them, Eichhoff, pitched last night, pitched a very good game for him. But at the end of the day, how often do you get somebody, 31 years old last year, that's a #1 guy that you have possible control for another 4 years?
Yeah, and he came to a team that eventually won the AL West championship, so he immediately fit in with this team. And as you mentioned, Jim, there are very few true aces around, and Texas has such a plentiful farm system. They were able to pull off that deal and get a legitimate ace on this team.
Well, they did that. They got Diekman along with the trade, a powerful left-handed reliever. They also got Sam Dyson from Miami. We had seen him early in the year, and boy, you know, he was lights out till he threw the home run to Batista, and then Game 5 of that division series, the Rangers getting a 2-0 lead, and then Toronto coming back. But you know, Hamels can get you out so many different ways. You know, throws 92 to 93. He can cut it in. He's got a great changeup, big power curve ball, throws the ball downhill. So again, not a comfortable guy because he can get you out so many different ways.
And Joey Rickard will get his first look at this left-hander. Cole Hamels, 123 major league wins. And there is some delay on the field for some reason. Cole Hamels is waiting for the umpires to say play ball. Paul Emmel has the plate tonight. Hamels is out of San Diego and now lives year-round here in Texas. And why not? It's a great state. Usually the weather's good. And we are underway in Arlington as Joey Rickard takes a strike.
Yeah, before the trade deadline, they were talking, he and his wife were talking about their favorite states. Texas and Texas, no state income tax. You know, nice place to live.
That makes it desirable.
Yeah, that it does.
Rickard quickly down in the count, 0-2.
Well, last night for Joey, the first time he hadn't got a hit in the first games of the year. Boy, he got pitched to last night.
Fights it off to our right to stay alive. Yeah, Joey on the trip is 2 for 13. Talked to him the other day for the radio pregame, and he says he's beginning to see teams adjust to him. Being pitched a little bit differently, seeing what he can handle or what he can handle. Pops it up. Shortstop Andrews is calling, and he's got it for the out, 1 away. Well, here is Manny Machado, Jim. He is on fire at the moment.
Well, he can hit any pitch you throw. He can hit it out of the ballpark. He can drive it to right field. Not to mention the Gold Glove. So take a look. You're deep inside the numbers. 8-game hitting streak. Anytime you're hitting over 400, 3 home runs, 35 of them last year. They always talk about what, 1,500 to 2,000 at bats, and then you kind of figure it out if you have a lot of talent. He certainly has that. He came into the season with 1,881 at bats. So he's going to be zooming up on that 2,000 at bats, and he's healthy.
Fly ball to right field, pretty well hit. Over towards the line comes Mazzara, and the rookie has it for the out and 2 men down.
Yeah, that kid
ball's in the air.
That kid can play right field. Only 20 years old. 2 extraordinary catches. Take a look at the Rangers defense. Desmond learning. He's a shortstop playing left. The Shields, Mazzara, Beltry, 4 Gold Gloves. Andrus, Odor, Moreland, and then Brian Holiday. We'll take a look at talk about defense, and of course they have a great infield defense, but look what he did up in Seattle the other night. I mean, this is Nick Markakis like. Down the line, robs him of a double, and then look at this one. Going to his right, does not run into Shield.
Deep shortstop, Andrews, the long throw, and got him in an eyelash. Adam Jones thinks he beat it out, and we may get a challenge.
Yep, Wayne Kirby immediately looking down at the bag. And of course, you'll go to your video guys. You don't want to waste a challenge. Take a look right here. I'll tell you, I don't know if there's enough to overturn it. it's not, I don't think there's anything in the rule book that says the tie goes to the runner, but ball and the foot got there at the same time, but they called him out.
Well, in order to be out, right, you have to have beat the foot to the bag. So no challenge. They thought he's out. We'll head to the bottom of the first. No score. Says they watch their team, and we understand we're having some audio issues with our transmission. Our technicians are working very hard to correct the problems, and hopefully those will be resolved very quickly. Here is the Rangers starting lineup. The Shields, Mazzara, and Fielder with Adrian Beltre in the middle. He is red hot, a 6-game hitting streak he brings into tonight's game. Moreland, Desmond, and Odor with Andrews and Holiday rounding it out for Texas.
And they'll face Chris Tillman. Again, a lot of fastballs. Why not? The velocity's gone up. I mean, generally 91.5 last year, 92.5, but he's got 93 to 95. Again, this will be his third start. The first one, the rain delay against Minnesota, came out blazing, throwing 95, 96, 5 strikeouts in 2 innings.
And he gets ahead of the Shields 0-1.
Well, you know how Buck Showalter always says, I play some guys because they hit well or they present themselves well in that ballpark. Tillman presents himself well here. He's never lost here at Arlington.
He has an amazing record against AL West teams. He has just dominated this division in his career. How about 15-3 against the AL West? And as Jim mentions, he has never lost in this ballpark. It's a fastball by the Shields.
Yeah, and also DeShields, that's exactly where he likes it. Now, he hit his first road home run in his brief career. Came up, in May of last year, hanging breaking ball up in Seattle. But again, if you bring that ball down, that's where he likes it. But up about eye high, couldn't get to it.
Last year, he was in the situation that Joey Rickard is this year. He was a Rule 5 pick taken from the Astros roster, had to stay on the team, and he eventually played in 121 games and took over the everyday center field job. 2-2 pitches line. That's a base hit to right field. Reimold over to cut it off. And a leadoff single for the Shields. Good piece of hitting there, going the opposite way.
Yeah, nice defensive 2-strike approach. But take a look at the Orioles defense. Rickard, Jones, and Reimold. Jonesy with 4 Gold Gloves back in. Starting a game, Machado, Gold Glove winner last year. Hardy with 3. Scope, Davis, who's playing like a Gold Glover, and then Matt Wieters, who's won a couple behind the plate for the Orioles.
Here is the rookie Nomar Mazzara, who was called up from AAA when Sin-Soo Choo went to the DL. 20 years old. He turns 21 on April the 26th. Made his major league debut 4 days ago on April 10th. One of the top prospects in all of baseball and already in the big leagues at age 20. Last year spent most of the year at AA Frisco, but late in the year he was promoted to AAA Round Rock, Jim, and batted .358 in AAA.
Well, they compared to him a lot of guys. I heard the name Carlos Delgado. Of course, he wasn't an outfielder. He was a first baseman for Toronto. And you're going to You know, the one thing about Chris Tillman, the amazing thing last year, over 30 starts, they only attempted 5 stolen bases for a tall guy, and they were only successful 4 of those times. They don't run against him. But the Shields and Andrus, these are the 2 guys on this team that run 25 stolen bases apiece.
Shields has a good lead off first. Slow roller towards third. Manny has 1 play. He'll take it to first to get the out and 1 away. Real good pitch there by Tillman, getting Mazara out in front.
And then Manny goes, again, because of the Shields' speed, takes the easy out, and then everybody gets to third base because didn't want the Shields to come around second and get into third base with only 1 out.
Delano's dad had a real nice long big league career, 13 years, including 2.5 seasons as an Oriole. Delano Shields Sr. Here's Prince Fielder. Prince is off to one of the stranger starts you're going to see. And he's got a runner in scoring position with 1 down. And it's low 1-0. Jimmy's batting .194 and has just 1 home run, but yet he has 10 RBIs, which ties him for the league lead.
Well, that tells me that they're getting a lot of guys to third base with less than 2 outs. And he's getting them in. Comeback player of the year in the American League. You know, neck injury that pretty much kept him from playing all of 2014.
Breaking ball in the dirt and a nice block there by Wieters. So Shields has to stay at second base. Matt did not play in the game last night. So he's fresh in there tonight.
Yeah, one of those little plays early on, it makes a big difference because if he gets the third, we talked about it. Brent's not hitting even 200. Probably play the infield back, fly ball, ground ball, probably would have gotten a run in.
Well, Tillman falls behind 2-0. Down and in, ball 3. Texas has had a challenging start to its season. Prince Fielder and his teammates are playing 14 consecutive days to begin the year. Jeff Bannister's team will not have a day off until Monday. And if you look at the schedule beyond that, they're playing 23 of the first 24 days of the season. There's a strike. And even beyond that, Jim, 36 of the first 38 days. So they're going to have a lot of days off later on, but that is a real challenge early on.
Well, and again, I talked to Jeff about that, and he said, well, we look at it actually as maybe a blessing because you come out of spring training. You know, I mean, they don't have Yu Darvish. He'll be back hopefully June, coming off Tommy John surgery. But they're a lot better off this year than last year. You know, they started out 8-16 last year. So again, if you think about where they played, Jim, you know, when you play early and you play in warm cities, played Seattle here, went to LA, Seattle, of course, apparently it was cloudy yesterday. They did have to had a couple of exhibition games, at Cleveland early on, but at the end of the day, you come out of spring training ready to go, but maybe 36 out of 38 is a lot.
3-2 pitch is hit towards short. Hardy waits on the hop. He knows he has plenty of time with Fielder running, gets the out, and the Shields ends up at third, but now with 2 men down. So a couple of weak ground balls moving to Shields to second and now to third. Chris Tillman turns 28 tomorrow. And he'll face Adrian Beltre here. He'll get some big hand, and we showed you Beltre 6-game hitting streak. He also leads the American League in doubles. He's got 5 doubles already on the year.
And he's 6 for 12 with a home run off of Chris Tillman. Moreland waiting on deck, 2 for 7.
Strike on the corner, good pitch.
See, we never really, with only maybe occasionally, saw Chris Tillman be able to hit 94 in the first inning. You know, he started out at 88, maybe hit 89, then he'd spike to 91, maybe go to 93 in the 4th or 5th inning. This year a little bit different.
That ball's hit the center field and deep. Long run for Adam Jones out there near the warning track. He runs it down for the out. So Beltre gave it a ride, and Jonesy back in action gets it for the out. A base hit, a man left, no score. Lottery's contestant of the game, Elijah Adari from Owings Mills, has won $500 by being selected and will win $500 more for every Orioles home run hit in the game tonight. You can play Home Run Rich's scratch-offs and win up to $50,000 or enter non-winning tickets for a chance to be the contestant of the game. Visit mdlottery.com/baseball. Here's Chris Davis back where it all began. Former Texas Rangers top prospect. And Hamels comes right at him and gets ahead 0-1.
Yeah, Chris Davis, Justin Smoke, Mitch Moreland. Moreland still with the club. Smoke's been around. Toronto, Seattle. Scott Colbaugh, who's the hitting instructor, has done a terrific job with Chris and the rest of the Oriole hitters. He was the minor league instructor. And when he got the big league job here in Texas, I asked him about him. He said he's going to be a star because he can hit the ball to left center with the best of them.
Seeing the way
we saw that last night, didn't we?
Oh, absolutely.
In Fenway.
First row of the monster seats. You can see how locked in he is by how he's taking pitches. That was a borderline pitch, and he simply let it go by for ball 2. And then another pop-up. Beltre at third. And one away. So 3 of the 4 batters that put the ball in play have popped it up.
We talked about Cole Hamels being a #1 guy, and you can see again if you look at the Orioles in Texas, they've been able to get more out of their starters. He's one of the reasons. And again, we had the rain out with Tillman, so that brings the numbers down a little bit. But also, if you look at Texas, they're a lot healthier than they were last year. Martin Perez, you got Holland, who pitched very well. You have a lot of guys that weren't able to perform early in the season for the Rangers this year.
So our PNC inside the numbers, focusing on starting pitching, which is the lifeblood of the game.
And as we mentioned, they expect to get Yu Darvish, who is recovering from Tommy John through live BP. He's going to do it again in a couple of days, and then go out for, they said 6 rehab appearances, but Doug Brocail, their pitching coach, says that might be too much. Might have to bring him back a little sooner if he feels well enough.
That ball's hit to left field off the bat of Trumbo, chasing Desmond back, and he runs it down for the out. There's the big experiment this year, the former national shortstop playing left field for Texas. So 2 away here in the second. Well, time is running out, and your chance to earn exclusive orange carpet benefits by becoming an Orioles full or partial season plan member. Enjoy dramatic savings over the cost of single game tickets. Plus, you get MLB's most flexible exchange policy, access to postseason games, and more. So don't miss out. This is the best way to follow your birds during what's shaping up to be a memorable season. Orioles.com/season or 888-848-BIRD. So 4 balls in the air out of the 5 batters, 2 down, and Wieters fouls it back.
Yeah, he's about a 2-to-1 normally ground ball to fly ball ratio. But that was a nice play by Desmond, because the ball was hit right on a line, didn't read it right away, and then made a nice recovery.
That one hung Wieters out in front, nothing in 2.
But they thought Ian Desmond would figure it out because he's so athletic. Late sign.
He left a lot of money on the table in Washington. They offered him over $100 million to sign.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And not only did he sign a 1-year deal here, he had to change positions because they already have Elvis Andrus, who has been an all-star shortstop. Good protected swing there as Wieters fights it off.
Well, that's the hook, and he's got a good curveball. And an even better changeup. And that's the one thing. I mean, he can sell the changeup like Johnny's used cars. Walking man's best friend in Baltimore. Nobody sold used cars like Johnny. Well, that's because he can sell it. Great arm speed, can't pick it up. So he cuts the ball in at your knees, gets the count to 2-2, and if you're Matt Wieters, you're thinking, okay, he's got a curveball, he's got a cutter, he can ride the ball, and he's got a great changeup. And there was Doug Brocail, first year as the Rangers pitching coach.
Ball 3. Well, Wieters with a good at bat, another early season at bat where a hitter goes from 0-2 to a full count. And this is all about the patience that was preached to these hitters all throughout spring training in Sarasota. Be aggressive, but be selective. And a fly ball to center field. The Shields broke back. Now he waits. And he will put it away. So for a second consecutive inning, the O's go 3 up, 3 down. Mid-second in Arlington, no score. Reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Globe Life Ballpark in Arlington, Texas. The Orioles arrived in the wee hours of the morning, got to bed about 5 a.m. Right back at it here today. I was pretty impressed. There was a large group of players out here for early batting practice today, despite the fact they got in so late last night.
I tried to stay up till 5. So I
be on equal footing.
Yep, but I couldn't make it past about 10:45.
We are locked on this camera because of some technical issues in the truck, and again our technician's working hard to correct the issue, so we'll try to give you a bit of a radio call here so we can see what's going on as Mitch Moreland takes ball 1. And Tillman deals, and there's a strike in the corner, 1-1 the count.
You just have to kind of imagine you're out in the center field bleachers here at Globe Life Park and what you're looking at.
Moreland hitting at 194, 1 RBI in the year.
He loves to hit against the Orioles. Couple of back-to-back 2 home run games last year. In fact, didn't he hit home runs in 5 consecutive at bats last year coming into that series?
He's got all kinds of power, but you look back, the Rangers chose him over Chris Davis, and I think history shows that they went after the wrong guy.
was right to the glove side, so it was for Tilly a pretty easy play.
And we are back with our video as well as audio. We appreciate your patience.
Well, you've been doing some radios.
Yeah. Slide right back in. Well, they were saving me for your debut. Come over to the TV side. Here's Rougned Odor, and there's a strike. You know, you were talking about the high sky here, and Joey Rickard getting a look at that ball that Manny called him off. Not only is it Joey Rickard's first time playing in this ballpark, it's the first time he's ever been in the state of Texas when he got off the plane last night. And another strike as Tillman comes right at Odor, and he gets ahead 0-2. There's Joey in left field. He is proving to be a valuable pickup by this team. When Adam was sidelined, he just slid right into center field and defensively played very well. Won't chase the high fastball. 1-2 on Rougned Odor.
Yeah, you really have to be careful with Odor. I mean, he's a little guy. You know, his second year, he's only 22, but he had 16 home runs last year. He can get on the high ball about as well as anybody on this team, other than maybe Beltran.
And it goes after the breaking ball in the dirt, swing and a miss, and Tillman with a 3-up, 3-down inning. Outstanding first couple of innings for the Orioles right-hander. We'll head to the third. Birds come to bat. No score. At Oriole Park on Tuesday, it begins a 3-game series against the defending AL East champion Blue Jays. Now, each game in the midweek series begins at 7:05, so don't miss this early season showdown within the division. Good seats remain for each game, so reserve yours now by getting online at Orioles.com or call 888-848-BIRD. Cole Hamels 6 up and 6 down on just 21 pitches to get through 2 scoreless innings. And he'll go to work on J.J. Hardy.
Yeah, it's a great skill set to be around the strike zone but not in the center of the plate. And that's what he does so well. You just can't sit on any one pitch. You just have to hope he makes a mistake. And by that I mean something that's either up in the middle of the plate. He just doesn't do that very often.
His consistency has been nothing short of remarkable as Hardy takes a breaking ball down and in. You look at his splits, Jim. Left-handed batters in his career have hit .238 against him. Right-handed batters have hit .238 against him.
And there's a changeup. Yeah, you know, it's a fastball count, 2-1. JJ healthy, coming off a multi-home run pesky pole numbered up in Fenway.
That's
right
the
down
Hardy pole now.
Yeah, exactly. Hardy's Comet right down the right field line in Boston. And even that pitch just a little out of the zone. You think it's hittable, but again, it's just it's a strike, but not a hittable strike with 2 strikes. And again, I think what really sets that up is the fact that 2-1, you think you're going to get a fastball, and you just don't get it. And then 2-2, you have no idea what's coming.
7 straight retired by Hamels. Here's Jonathan Scope, who was 2 for 11 on the trip with 1 RBI. And a good take there. 0-1. Now, he has been the prize pupil of Scott Coolbaugh going all the way back to the beginning of spring training to be more selective at the plate. It's been a team-wide focus to be aggressive but selective, but in particular with Jonathan. Remember last year how many of those bad breaking balls he would chase. He is not doing that with the same regularity this year. He really has taken to the new approach at the plate.
Well, the new approach is also having an eye to idea till you get to 2 strikes what you want to hit. You know, last year in spring training, going back to 2015, Scott Coolbaugh's first year, he said his swing was more like a windshield wiper, real quick. So they smoothed that out. We know he's got tremendous power.
Had the green light on 3-0, and he fouls it back.
Well, Chris Davis, that home run last night, 3-0. The one he hit up on the left center field. What do they call them?
The monster seats.
The monster seats.
The monster.
Used to be a screen. Now it's.
That pitch was outside. Odor gets the bouncer. A Scope tried to go that way. And 2 men down. Let's get a look at our Jeep inside the number, talking about long ball efficiency.
Yep. Okay, you can see the Rangers, if you look at these Jeep inside the numbers, no multi-hit games. Of course, the Orioles, they hit them in bunches. Again, you can see the runs, even. Batting average favors the Orioles. On base percentage, last year the Orioles at what, 307, 3rd lowest in the American League. So early on, what you talked about, being able to talk about it and do it. Right. Of course, they've been talking about trying to be a little bit more discerning at the plate for the last 10-12 years.
And there is a fine line, because if you look at the makeup of this roster, Jim, this is a power-laden team that thrives on playing for the big inning. So you don't want to get rid of the aggressiveness, but at the same time, if you're a little bit more selective, real good change up there. As Reimold swings through it, you likely will get a better pitch to hit. At least that's the theory. And the 1-2 to Reimold, swung on and lifted to shallow right field. Odor out, and that ball's going to fall as Mazzara looked like he yielded to the second baseman. Throw to second is not in time. Well, that is a hustle double for Reimold, and the Orioles have their first base runner.
Well, we talked about Mazzara's outstanding play, but again, if you can't get to it, 2 outs, why give him a double? And that's exactly what he does. He played a looping single for the Orioles now with a chance to maybe get on the board. So you can't catch it, back off. I mean, he's probably about 3 strides away. Knows he can't make the play, and then when DeShields, Odor actually does get on it, it's just too late.
So the Orioles' first base runner is the number 9 batter, and here's Rickard for his second at bat. That ball's hit well to left field. Back goes Desmond, over his head and against the wall. Reimold will score. Rickard is flying to second base, and he's in with an RBI double, and the Orioles, just like that, have a 1-0 lead.
Well, they give him the extra base by a bad decision by the right fielder, and then Joey Rickard does exactly what he did all spring. Almost hit 400. Lights the ball up. We talked about, will you get a lot of mistakes? Well, there is one. Fastball in the middle of the plate, 93, probably the hardest pitch he's thrown tonight, and Rickard doesn't miss it. So now a chance is with his speed easily into second. Desmond thought he might be able to catch it, but the ball just sailed by him and left.
Well, his 4th big league RBI, and he's in scoring position for Manny, who is the Orioles' hottest hitter. And takes a breaking ball low, 1-0.
And really playing a single into a double is probably going to add at least 5, 6, 7 pitches to Cole Hamels. Pitch him out right here in the 3rd inning.
And a swing and a miss. We understand we're having audio difficulties once again, so the crew is working very hard, as they have been, to correct those. So we apologize for any inconvenience to our audience. They are working feverishly to correct the problems. 1-1. Oh, good changeup.
Well, he's getting them all. Cutter to start him out for a ball. Then he came back with a, and there, right there, 1-1 changeup. We talked about selling it. Can you pick up the arm speed? Ball in the back of his hand, tumbles down and away. And Manny swings right through it.
Breaking balls bounce towards third. Beltre, tough hop. Rickard is in a rundown, and now he's going to be tagged out. So Rickard runs into an out as he was off on contact, except the play was in front of him. But the O's do get a run mid-third, 1-0 O's.
Been reading all year long, yeah, they need better starters. The Orioles don't have a #1 guy, but look what Chris Tillman did before last year. 3 runs or less in 20 of his last 21 starts. Now that year he would go on to win 13 games. Year before 16. And one of those years where, and again, you know, when you pitch in Camden Yards, not always the easiest place to pitch. You know, last year it was pretty much Toronto. How about giving up 97 runs, 33 in 6 starts against Toronto, 11 of your 20 home runs against Toronto. Unfortunately, they do play in the American League East, and you have to pitch against them.
Well, and he'll get Toronto in the opener of that series Tuesday. That's his next turn day, and there's a fastball for a strike taken by Andrews.
Yeah, Paul Emmel gives him a high strike, umpiring behind the plate.
Check swing and appeal to first. Does not go. It's Jordan Baker on first base tonight.
Yeah, the one pitch that, and we just saw it there, was a slider. That's Chris Tillman throwing a few more sliders this year. You know, he has a very good curveball. That's what he was able to strike with Gore to get out of the last inning. There's another slider. But it's a higher percentage pitch. As good as the curveball is, maybe on a good night, throw it 55–60% for strikes. Over the course of the year, about 45, very much like my percentage. So come up with a slider. And I hope you get the outside corner call.
Isn't it difficult within a start to have both those breaking balls?
Yeah, unless you're going to strike out 10 or 12 or 14. And that's, all my high strikeout games were games where I've had both of them. But you're right, very hard to do that. Didn't want to do that because Andrus can run 25 steals.
So a leadoff walk for Texas here in the third. Say, gather up your family and celebrate Mother's Day weekend at Oriole Park. First on Saturday, May 7th, the Birds take on Oakland at 7:05. The first 10,000 female fans 18 and over receive an Orioles canvas tote presented by MLB Network. And then on Mother's Day, the first 10,000 female fans 14 and over receive an Orioles Infinity scarf. And after the game on Sunday, May 8th, all the kids 14 and under can run the bases. For your tickets, Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. Bring mom out to the ballpark. Well, Tillman since 2012. So this is the 5th season since he was called up from AAA, and a quick throw to first and became a regular in this rotation. There have been only 24 stolen base attempts on him. Now, 10 have been successful, but the Orioles have caught 14. And as Jim alluded to, there have been years where there have been maybe 4 all year. So far this year, not 1 in his first 2 starts. And there's a strike taken by Brian Holiday, who's now back home. He was acquired in a trade the final week of spring training from Detroit. He was born in Dallas and now lives in Fort Worth. He went to college in Fort Worth at TCU.
Well, Robinson Chirinos had the broken arm. He'll be out 10 to 12 weeks. Of course, Jimenez, he's got a infection, had one in his knee. He's got it in his ankle. He's probably 5 to 7 days away from maybe starting extended spring.
So they made the trade for Holiday to be the backup, and now he's the number 1. They have a rookie, another throw to first. Brett Nicholas was called up from AAA.
Hey, he's actually he caught yesterday. He's done a nice job. Had good numbers. There is Brett Nicholas, Phoenix boy. He's out of the Valley of the Sun.
Valley of the Sun. And just outside, 2-1. So Chris got ahead of Andrews, 0-1, then 4 in a row out of the zone, and now he's 2-1.
Yeah, well, he went to the scouting reports. Get him out with breaking balls and didn't get it open. And that's how Andrews ended up at first. It's a good game plan, but sometimes you just kind of get carried away, and then you go, why did I do that?
Left center field, easy play for Rickard.
Yeah, he gets such a good jump on the ball, and you know, we sit up here high at Globe Life Park, and when you see a guy already moving and the ball's not even out of the infield and he's an outfielder, you know he can read the ball. He can play center, he can play left, probably could play right. Good arm, charges the ball well.
Well, in the 2 games in Fenway Park in which Adam came in late to play center field, Joey then did move to right field. And Mark Trumbo came out of the game. So Joey can play them all. One away, here's the Shields. And he bunts third base side. It's a beauty. Manny's going to let it roll, and it goes foul. What a good decision there for Manny Machado. He knew he had no play, so what the heck. He knew Hardy would be there at third base to cover just in case.
Yeah, otherwise, Andros, I mean, this is really a well-executed bunt, but the spin just gets him. That certainly will bring in Manny Machado at third for the next. You always want to do it before you get a strike, because now Manny's got to play in. Nice play by the Shields. Especially after you hit your first road home run the day before. Thinking small ball, get on for the big guys. About Elvis Andrus, not a particularly big lead at first base. And again, the ability to still throw strikes. You're 6'5" like Chris Tillman. And as long as you make him stop, he's not going to be able to run.
Well, Andrus, an accomplished base stealer, as Jim pointed out. He has had at least 20 stolen bases for 7 consecutive years. He's 4 different times stolen 30 bases, and his career high was 42 back in 2013. Chopper straight down at the plate, 1-2 on the Shields. The Orioles team pitching overall is still very, very good. Dave Wallace's group is 3rd in the American League in team pitching at 3.04. And that makes such a big difference. Of course, the last couple of nights at Fenway, the starters each gave up 4 runs. The night before, the Birds scored 9, but last night held to 2. And that one gets past Wieters all the way back to the screen and ricochets off the facade.
Well, you don't see that too often, almost like it might have been a crossover. Maybe he just pulls it down and away, and then that's sitting up and in. And sometimes you just over-rotate. Ball that he would normally get the leather on, but see, he's sitting up and in. Look how far down and away. Just, again, doesn't move very quickly. Ball gets by him and then right off the brick wall here.
So Andrus into scoring position with only 1 down. Ground ball is short. A.J. Harding guns at the first to get the hustling to Shields, and 2 men down. Well, we encourage you to text Masson's word of the day, which is teamwork, to 29292 for your chance to win a meet and greet with Buck Showalter. That's teamwork to 29292, brought to you by Care First. Live fearless with the name trusted for over 75 years. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield. There's the skipper. As his team off to a 7-1 start. The 7-game winning streak to begin the year, by the way. The longest winning streak ever under Buck Showalter with the Orioles. Here's Mazzara. There's a strike.
Yeah, inside corner. And then you couple that with what they won 5 in a row to get to 81 and 81 last year. So 12. We got all the losses out of the way early in spring training.
That's
what
right.
they call
0-10-2.
Did not win a game in the first 12 spring training games.
Well, there were a few battles in the spring for roster spots, but for the most part, it was the regulars that you knew were going to play and be on this team getting their work in. The regulars made very few road trips. I think Adam went on 1 all spring. Davis went on a couple by request because he wanted to get more game at bats. Mazzara to center field. Adam Jones coming in on the ball, racing, won't get it, and we are tied. Right off the end of the bat. The wild pitch, very costly as Andrews scores. And on the RBI single by Mazzara, we're tied at 1.
Yeah, kind of the wild pitch, an extra base. The Orioles took advantage of it when Mazzara, who's going to drive this run in, has played a single into a double. And then he just gets jammed there. And you can see Adam Jones changeup go right off the end of the bat. Or maybe up by the trademark a little bit. And have a new batting instructor, Anthony Iapozi, who came out of the Cubs organization, Toronto organization. When I was asking him about Mazzara, he said for a 20-year-old kid, again another youngster, and maybe because he comes from a military family, very, very focused. And he focused one into center field in front of Jones for a run.
And that dreaded leadoff walk comes around the score to tie the game. 1-0 on Prince Fielder, who grounded out to Hardy his first at bat. And a high fly ball left center field. Rickard battling the twilight will put it away, and the inning ends. So the 2-out single, leadoff walk scores. We're through 3. Those and Rangers tied 1-1. Of Orioles baseball is brought to you by the RAV4 Hybrid. All-wheel drive and unexpected performance. Visit buyatoyota.com. Lovely night in Arlington, Texas. Through a twilight here. Cole Hamels 40 pitches to get through 3 innings. He allowed back-to-back doubles after 2 down in the 3rd. Reimold's a gift as Mazzara, the right fielder, played a single into a double. Then Rickard drove him home. There's Adam Jones, a second at bat. Was out and an eyelash and a bang play, ground ball to short. He had a very productive early batting practice today. He was hitting some moonshots into the left field grandstand.
Well, you just want him back healthy. Anytime you're messing around with rib injuries or whatever. Of course, it was never an oblique. It was just something that was there, and of course obliques could be a month, 5-6 weeks.
Takes the changeup outside, 2-1. Yeah, and Adam, he met with the beat writers in Boston about not playing, and he said, look, if I have to sit out 5 or 6 games now, that's better than me trying to push it and maybe blowing it out even more and missing a month. And Buck Showalter really was pleased with his leadership with that, putting the team first ahead of maybe trying to be too anxious to get back in there. And it certainly helped that the Orioles got off to such a good start. A full count on Jones. Davis and Trumbo follow. Adam just 2 for 7 against Hamels head-to-head. And he got it. First strikeout for Hamels, 1 away.
Well, you know, Jeff Bannister, who manages the Rangers, saw him so many when he was a bench coach, so many times when he was with Pittsburgh, and he said there's so much going on with the windup and, you know, the high leg kick. So 91 probably seemed a little bit firmer than 91, and that's how Adam goes out of the strike zone, that and the inactivity.
Now here's Davis, who popped up to third his first at bat.
Now you talked about the consistency for Cole Hamels. I mean, 61 and 44 with a 3.27 ERA at home over his career, and then almost the same number, 62 and 47 with a similar ERA on the road. So it really doesn't matter where he pitched. If you ever been to the ballpark in Philadelphia, you better know how to pitch there. That is a bandbox.
We were there for the final exhibition game on April the 1st, and it rained sideways. And a foul off his foot, rolls all the way out to first.
Now Chris Davis is the only hitter that can foul a ball off his foot and the ball gets hurt. Normally when you do that, you at least have a little bit of pain.
And he doesn't even flinch. Good take, ball 3. Hamels in his career has averaged just over 2 walks per 9 innings while striking out 8.5. That ball's hit the center field and well back on it to Shields. He'll get there.
A little knuckleball.
And he's got it for the out and 2 men down. So 2 away in the Oriole 4th. Let's get a look at the Mile One upcoming schedule. Mile One Automotive offering you 20 convenient locations throughout the Baltimore area. Visit us in-store or online at mile1.com. Well, night games tomorrow and Saturday. WJZ with us as well on Saturday, and then Sunday to close it out at 3 o'clock Eastern time before the Orioles head home for a very brief homestand. They'll have Monday off, team function Monday night, and then 3 night games against the Blue Jays. Ball 1 to Mark Trumbo, who flied out his first at bat. He has hits in 6 of the 8 games.
Oh, it started at what, opening day, 4 hits, up the middle, right field, home run off Price, what, about 430 to right center in Boston.
This ball's towards the right center gap. He got to love out. Way back it goes, and that ball is gone. It's into the Texas bullpen. So the right center power shows again for Mark Trumbo. There's his 3rd home run, and the O's have the lead back at 2-1.
Oh, that's what he does. I thought I'm kind of going through some numbers. Mike Scioscia, when he had him in California, he said he is not going to be graded on batting average or on base percentage, but power and production. Well, there's some power, and there's some production as it gives the Orioles a 2-1 lead.
And our Maryland Lottery contestant of the game, Elijah Adari of Owings Mills, has just won another $500 courtesy of the home run by Mark Trumbo.
Yeah, he just kind of flicks it out there, out over the plate. You know, it's a ball that's been popping up. Of course, Hamill's been able to get in on the right-hander, so great extension. And again, big-time power, really to everywhere. Hit the home run off Buchholz. The Orioles were down 4-2 on Tuesday night. He tried to come in 3-2, hit it over the green monster, way over the green monster.
That was a shot.
Well, that's what he does.
He's a real good guy and has fitted very, very nicely with his new teammates. He wants to win. He knows he has a chance to win here. And it's easy to be just one of the guys in the lineup, not the focal point of the lineup.
Well, and he can play. I mean, he can DH, obviously, because he can hit. He can play the outfield. He can play first base. When he played first base for the Angels, actually his zone rating was up with the leaders. I think Chris Davis certainly can not only hit home runs but play first base with aplomb. But Trumbo's probably better at first than the outfield, but they need him in the outfield.
And another good at bat by an Oriole as Wieters was down in the count. He works it full.
Well, Matt has that kind of power too to right center field. Hamill saying, okay, it was a wake-up call. Ball was up and away, and he just flicked it into the seats.
Well, the Orioles now with 15 home runs on the year. They began the day tied for first in the American League with both Seattle and Houston. And Jim, they've also homered now in 5 consecutive games, 8 home runs total in those 5 games, and Trumbo has 3 of those home runs. The incredible balance of this lineup showing here. The number 9 batter got on. The leadoff man drove him in. And Wieters takes too tight for ball 4 on a very close pitch. Well, let's get a look at our Maryland Live Casino inside the numbers on J.J. Harden.
Oh, so there are your extra base hits. You get 6 of them, 5 of them for extra base hits. We mentioned the two-run home runs up in Fenway Park down the right field line. Of course, Cano hit what? He's got 5 home runs. He's hit all 5 against the Rangers. They're happy to get out of Seattle.
Yeah, the home run by Trumbo, the 3rd allowed by Hamels, and it's the 1st by a right-handed batter. In the season opening start, Cano took him deep and Kyle Seager took him deep, 2 left-handed batters, and now Trumbo has joined that list of just 3. That ball's hit well to left center field. Long run for the Shields, way out there. He runs it down for the out. Oh, he just saved the run. What a play by Delino DeShields as he robs J.J. Hardy. Mark Trumbo gets in the one, hits it out to right center field. A monster shot into the bullpen, and the Orioles have the lead back at 2-1. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. and by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. Chris Tillman once again has a 1-run lead, as the Orioles with single runs in the third and the fourth. The Shields just saved another one there with that running catch. Beltre, Moreland, and Desmond coming up against Chris. Very pitch efficient, 46 to get through 3 innings. So a breaking ball, Beltre just lets it go by. Didn't even sniff.
Yeah, he bailed. I mean, really, if you're home plate umpire, hard to make that call because he was gone. And then he throws him a changeup, curveball changeup. Tell you what, he put a pretty good swing on the first one. It was kind of a fastball thigh high, and it looked like it might get out of here. Have an interesting road trip. You have Fenway Park, where balls were, because of the lowest stands in baseball, balls that looked like they were foul, blowing back into fair territory. And this park looks immense. But if the winds are blowing, now today they're blowing the left to right, but if they're blowing in, that usually means the ball goes out. But it certainly didn't hurt Trumbo's ball, so the ball must be carrying. But remember the numbers. Beltre now 6 for 13 with a home run, so pretty good numbers. That means he gets good pitches to hit. Whoa.
Way outside, all the way back to the screen. So that's the second time Tillman's done that.
Yeah, Matt Wieters looking out there. You are all right. Never seen him do that. Well, the Orioles got in the lead in the third, and then he walked Andrus. And this is going to be the third ball right here. He just, again, just doesn't stay closed, and just opens up and pulls it, what, about 6 feet left of the catcher.
Beltre and Wieters are having quite a conversation during this at-bat. And the foul to run the count full 3-2.
Well, Adrian Beltre, and a lot of people think because of the Gold Gloves, the longevity, over 400 home runs, he's certainly going to have Hall of Fame credentials. But he just turned 37, I believe, early April.
That's correct. Right center field, easy play for Reimold. So Tillman wins that battle. Beltre's retired, 1 away. Tillman has just 1 strikeout, and that's okay. The 1 walk came back to hurt him, as that walk came around to score the Texas run.
I only have Hamels for 1 strikeout too. Their scorecard, because this is spring training for broadcasters. You have more than 1?
Just 1.
Yeah. So
I thought you meant more than 1 scorecard.
No, more than 1 strikeout.
No, the spring training scorecards are back home in Falston. With
the many names on
19 position players in 1 game, and then you factor in the pitchers. There was 1 game, a radio broadcast we did in Sarasota, where Buck made 9 position changes at once, and that's all you got out there is 9. Everyone came off the bench and a new pitcher came in the same half inning.
Well, that's a problem having your minor league facility so close. Bring in all the other guys, and wants to see them, give them a chance to play at that level.
Right field, on the run is Reimold, sliding catch. What a play by Nolan.
And another great jump by the Orioles outfield. First of all, you got to see it, and anytime a ball gets low like this, sometimes one-hand swing on a changeup, thinks it may fall, little circle route, and then directly to the ball. Nice play.
I wonder if the lights may have affected him seeing that ball initially. That was a nice play. So 2 men down, and here's Ian Desmond, who had a comebacker, hit it well, but Tillman gloved it. And there's ball 1. Speaking of Sarasota, that's where Ian Desmond grew up. There was a lot of talk that he might go to Tampa Bay to get back in his home region, but they instead made that trade with Seattle and brought Brad Miller in to play shortstop. Ian Desmond, he's been around in pro ball for long enough that he was actually drafted by the Montreal Expos. 2004.
And then they moved to Washington.
Tillman goes to 3-0 on the number 6 hitter in the lineup.
Yeah, you'd be kind of interested to see with his kind of power, and again struggling if Jeff Bannister gives him the green light here. Look fastball, try to elevate something. No, not the case.
Taken all the way, it looked like 3-1. Tillman 3-1 in his career against the Rangers, and all 3 wins have been in this ballpark. Top foul back out of play this way.
Yeah, there he drops his backside and does try to hit a home run.
I remember one of his starts earlier in his career where he just dominated the Rangers here. And I guess it was the cutter they didn't know he had, and they didn't know what to do with it. There's a pop foul back out of play.
Well, the cutter can be a very effective pitch. I think he really uses the cutter. It's almost like a slider. And one of the guy that I think should be in the Hall of Fame, Mike Mussina out of Montour, who pitched for the Orioles and the Yankees. He came up with it because you go 2-0, 2-1. You're looking fastball. You got a knuckle curveball and changeup, but just to get the power hitters off your fastball.
Right field, Reimold back on it. It's going to be a Reimold inning. And he has it for the out. All 3 balls hit in the air to Reimold. 3 up, 3 down, go Texas. Good game. We'll head to the 5th. 2-1-0s. One to look forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Here's the skipper. Buck Showalter has his team off to a 7-1 start. Very much a veteran-laden team, even with Manny and Jonathan. Jonathan will lead off here. John's 24. Manny hasn't turned 24 yet, but they are everyday regular players.
Yeah, best friends. You made a great point where you can just kind of fit right in whether you're a veteran or a youngster on this team, because number one, and the one thing, and we've seen this, and maybe the Rangers could say the same thing, what from 67 wins to 88 with Bannister, is they learned how to win. They like winning. The Orioles are in the same boat. Since Buck Showalter has taken over, I know last year with the pitching, especially the starters imploding, it was only 81 wins, but they're a winning ball club, winning franchise now. There's your home run swing. Yep.
1 and 2.
Well, there's your pitch to hit. And Cole Hamels, he knows I can't stay there, and with Scopes, you can see kind of the frustration. I mean, he got away with it.
And there's a base hit for Scope. He hung a curveball. So John is on with a leadoff single here in the 5th. He's 1 out of 2. Let's get a look at our PNC minor league report. PNC for the achiever in you. And Brian Mattis, rehab assignment with Bowie. 3 innings, 8 hits, 7 runs earned. Now, that was his last minor league assignment. He is going to pitch tomorrow, Jim, behind Kevin Gausman. They're both going to pitch at Frederick. Gausman will start. And then when Kevin leaves the game, Brian will go in. They felt he needed at least one more before being ready to come back. Well, Reimel takes low.
Well, for Brian, you know what he can do. I mean, he's a left-handed specialist. The last couple of springs, not this one, but talking about 15 and 14, they actually let him start so he could be a little more effective against right-handed batters. It gives Buck Showalter a lot more latitude when you can have a lefty coming out of the bullpen like TJ Farland, who can get lefties and righties out, because again, he just allows you to stretch your bullpen a little bit farther.
Well, right now the Orioles bullpen has tremendous balance with the 5 righties and 2 lefties. Balance because 3 of those 7 have options. So if the need arises, they could make a move, and when Mattis comes back, 1 will have to be option.
Well, the other thing is there's nothing in the baseball handbook that says a righty and a lefty can't get the opposing batters out. I mean, Bundy can get righties and lefties out.
So can Brock.
Yeah, so can Brock. So can Tyler Wilson.
So can O'Day.
Yep. Well, that's another way of enhancing the.
He turned 30 yesterday.
Did he really?
Or actually Wednesday. What day is today? Thursday? It was Tuesday.
So Tillman's going to be 28 tomorrow.
There's Brad. Jersey Brad Brock turned 30. So Chris can enjoy a birthday tomorrow and then pay his taxes. He turned 28, born on tax day. That ball's hit deep to left field. Desmond back on it, and he reaches up and he can't get it. It's off the wall. Jonathan Scope had to wait, but he still will get to third and on at second with a double. His second double of the game is Nolan Reimel.
Now, there have been some tough chances right there. I mean, again, it looked like a changeup, and Nolan, after seeing about 5 of them, you see right here, I mean, it's just a changeup. He goes down and ends up in the middle of the plate, and then he just smokes it. Well, again, the line drive at you as an outfielder, and you can see Desmond off the top of his glove, probably the toughest play you're going to make. You know, if you're a left fielder, a right-hander hits it down the line, it's going to hook away from you. And if you're playing right field and the right-hander hits it, it's going to slice away from you. But the line drive at you, right over his head for an extra base double.
So 2 in scoring position for Joey Baseball with nobody out. And that ball hit the bat.
Now, we talked about strikeouts. Not a lot of them for either pitcher tonight, but you know that Cole Hamels is thinking if he can get ahead, and he just did, I need a strikeout. And then you have a guy that is a pretty good contact hitter for a young hitter. You know, impressive thing to me, and as somebody that tried to get hitters out, he uses the middle of the field so well. Really good high ball hitter, and you had mentioned that they made some adjustments. One of them is try to stay down in the zone. I mean, if you're Craig Kimbrell and you're throwing 99, it doesn't really matter. You know, just throw it knee high. Struck out the side in the 9th.
Well, the thing about him as a young hitter that you really have to respect is he knows who he is and he knows who he isn't. You know, he'll hit occasional home runs, but he's not a home run hitter. But he goes foul line to foul line and is willing to take what they give him. And for a young hitter, Jim, that is a lot of poise. If they're going to pitch your way, he's going to go to right field. He's not going to try to do too much.
Well, he's looking for a ball in this count to get in the air.
Off speed pitch, fouled off.
Well, good changeup, and it's almost, if you're a veteran pitcher, and Cole Hamels certainly that. And again, you have to remember he's won 9 straight decisions. They've won the last 12 games he started. You kind of get a feel that Tillman's pitching pretty well. So this is almost like you're in the later innings. You don't want to give up another run. So the 2-1 changeup to get back into the count.
Strike 3 called.
Well, he went hunting for a strikeout and got it. I'm not sure this was a strike. One thing about Paul Emmel, he's been pretty consistent. Ball might have been a little bit inside. Hard to tell from that angle. I mean, watch Joey Rickard look down. I would imagine that ball was probably a couple of inches or maybe a ball off the plate inside. But part of getting the call is, do you throw it where the glove is?
Right.
And he did.
Here's Manny, who was 0 for 2. He has flied out and bounced into a fielder's choice, looking to extend his season opening hitting streak to 9 in a row. Breaking ball in the dirt.
Nice play by Holiday. Just slid right over and blocked it. Kind of the badge of courage for a catcher. You got a pitcher with a big curve ball. If he's going to throw it, throw it. I'll keep it in front of me.
Change up for a strike.
Well, you talked about plate discipline, and to me, that's a good take in the sense he's not looking for that pitch. He's got at least 2 more strikes. Doesn't have to swing at anything till he gets to 2 strikes. So why swing at something that you're not looking for?
Ground ball to third. Beltre plays a tough hop and slings it across to get Machado and 2 men down. So now it'll take a 2-out base hit to get a run in. Well, the arch rival Yankees are in town, Oriole Park. Their first visit this year is Tuesday, May 3rd. It begins a 3-game midweek series against the Birds. So help us paint the ballpark orange for this classic AL East battle. Good seats remain for each game, but as you know, against the Yankees, they usually don't last. So get your tickets now by calling Orioles 888-848-BIRD or get online at Orioles.com. So Rickard called out on strikes. Machado has it in the infield. Now it's up to Jones. Slicing foul down the right side.
Well, you're seeing the whole repertoire right here. Runners at second, third, nobody out. Change-ups and curveballs right there. Good curveball. Change-up to get Manny to roll over and ground out to third. Been around long enough to know. And you never know when a jam's going to come, but this was one of them. And of course, a base hit by Adam Jones will change that whole picture.
Fastball for a strike. Adam didn't think so. So Hamels gets ahead of Jones 0-2.
And now, it's funny when you're ahead in the count. If you're a pitcher, you can throw a ball to a strike to a ball. And if you're behind, you have to throw a ball that ends up in the zone.
Adam fouls it off to stay alive. Orioles have 5 hits. 3 of those are doubles. They have now doubled in 5 consecutive games, and they have homered in 5 consecutive games.
And the one thing about this outfield is Shields plays extremely and shallow in center. And of course, we could see why, the way he ran down the Hardy line drive to the gap.
In the minor leagues, he was a second baseman. Now he's a tremendous cover center fielder in the big leagues. 0-2 on Jones. And he got him with a breaking ball. The ball is loose. Holiday has to go to first, and he gets Jones, and Hamels gets out of a big jam. Second and third, nobody down. The O's can't score. Mid-fifth, the Orioles with a 2-1 lead. Orioles baseball on MASN is brought to you by Navy Federal, proudly serving the armed forces and their families for over 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA. Nighttime look at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. And the Orioles behind Chris Tillman has allowed only 2 hits, a 2-1 lead, missed a chance to add to it. Second and third, nobody out, top half of this inning. Tillman very pitch efficient, Jim, just 61 to get through 4 innings.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have a little bigger cushion. But Cole Hamels took care of that.
Strike 1 to Odor. Andrus will follow, then Holiday, the lower third of the Texas lineup. Odor struck out his first at bat. That is the lone strikeout for Tillman. Slicing foul the other way. That's back out of play.
Yeah, got him out the first time on a changeup. Good fastball hitter, as you mentioned, out of Venezuela. So what did Chris Tillman say in spring training? He said, well, what's the most important thing? Get my fastball command, throwing 65% of them.
That ball's ripped to the corner and a fair ball. On an 0-2 pitch, Odor got a lot of it, and he is hitting the second base with a leadoff double.
Yeah, hung a breaking ball.
Can't add to the lead in the top half, and now the tying run at second with nobody down.
Yeah, Odor gets a good pitch to hit, and obviously Chris didn't want to put it there, but did. And he didn't miss it.
His third double, 4th extra base hit of the year.
And Maracaibo, where Luis Aparicio is from, in Venezuela.
Here's Elvis Andrus, who is also from Venezuela. Tillman wants a new baseball.
Yeah, he's going to go down and talk to Tony Beasley, third base coach. And what do we have and what are we trying to do here? Try to get him, obviously, get him to third or get him in. Put the pressure on Chris Tillman. Hamels with only 1 strikeout till they got runners at second and third, then came up with 2. Same with Chris.
Ball 1 outside. He was going to swing away. That is actually Spike Owen.
Yeah, I was thinking
at third base.
Yeah.
He is the interim third base coach. Bouncer towards the hole. Hardy, now they have Odor in a rundown. Odor trying to stay in a rundown long enough. There's the tag. Odor is out, but Andrus able to get to second base. So Odor broke, not realizing that there was a fielder there to get the ball.
Yeah, not realizing that J.J. Hardy had no play other than if he gets caught in a rundown, and he does. I mean, Manny dives for it, can't quite get it. Here comes Hardy, so he doesn't have a play at first because Andrus runs too well. But heads up play. Saw it in Boston, threw the runner out at third. And you still have a runner in, but you do get the out.
So Andrus ends up at second base on the 6-4-5 fielder's choice. And here's Holiday, the number 9 batter. Ball 1 low. Holiday flied out to left field, his first at bat. That had to be a great day, Jim, for Brian Holiday when he was called into the office in Lakeland. He was a Tiger, drafted by Detroit. He was their backup catcher and told not only that he was traded, but he was going home. And he was born in Dallas, lives in Fort Worth, went to TCU. That's got to be quite a thrill to be able to play for your hometown team. Just outside.
I'm not sure how much he thought he was going to play with Chirinos, who had a nice offensive year and actually caught very well. The pitching was much better when he caught last year, and then Chris Jimenez, with both of them injured.
popped him up. Center of the diamond, Manny's taking charge. And just off the pitcher's mound has it for the out. And 2 men down, and Andrews has to hold at second base. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Orioles and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Orioles. Well, 2 down now, and here is Delino DeShields, who was 1 out of 2. So the leadoff double, and the runner still at second base with 2 down now. Shields fouls it back.
Yeah, I was talking to Delino last year, and I said after, he stole 101 bases coming through the minor leagues with Houston, as you mentioned, #1 draft choice in 2010. He said, but I was in the wave before Jeff Lunau's #1 picks, so I was dispensable. And as you mentioned, the Rangers picked him up. Rule 5 guy, stayed all last year. A little extra right there. So Hamels got out of his jam with a couple of strikeouts, and Chris Tillman, at least to this point, has gotten out of his jam with a really good slider and then a great change up to Holiday. And now in a position where he doesn't have to throw DeShields a strike. 0-2. Something he couldn't do to Odor.
Tried to get him to chase, knocked down by Wieters. Andrews thought about it, but goes back to second base.
Now take a look, big curveball, a nice block by Wieters, keeps it in front of him. Yeah, 2 outs going on contact. He's one of those players with a 2-1 lead. The last thing you want to do is to try to throw out Andrews at home plate and let DeShields, if he happens to single, get to second.
Adam Jones usually plays shallow. He's even more shallow than usual, and Reimold has shortened up and right.
I think one of those reasons they figure, not that you run on Tillman very much, but DeShields is a stolen base guy. You keep him from the single. If he gets a single, he may steal the base anyway. He's already hit a nice pitch the first time up, took a fastball down and away, and sliced it down the right field line for a single.
And Adam is so close, he could tell Stoke where to play.
Well, he can certainly see what the signs are. Paul Blair used to do that. Elliot Maddox.
1-2 on Odor. And another foul ball.
I think ultimately they'd like to get DeShields out with a breaking pitch.
And another 1-2 is low, knocked down by Wieters again.
Yeah, a little changeup in the dirt. Oh, we always talk, Buck Showalter saying, what's going to take to get him out? And, if you're Delino DeShields and you have veteran players like Prince Fielder and Adrian Beltre who use the field yet can still hit home runs, kind of make you a better hitter. And all he's trying to do right here is put the ball in play. Great speed, always tough defensively when the guy can run like this.
Ground ball ricochets off of Tillman, and Scope will not have a play. Throw behind the runner. He is out at third base.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that.
Wow! What a play by Scope. And Manny on the back end. Jeff Bannister's on the field. They're going to decide whether to challenge this call of Mike Everett, the crew chief.
Well, again, if you don't have the kind of arm and the wherewithal, the play's not even close. Well, it looks like it might be a base hit up the middle. And then right here, this is what they're going to see. And I'll tell you what, it looks like they might have gotten him.
And the Rangers are going to challenge.
No, why not? You're down 2-1. The inning will be alive. if you do, what do you have to lose? And the umpire right there. Obviously, the Orioles hope that he got it right. But again, if you don't have the arm straight that Jonathan Schoop has, that play's not even going to be close.
Well, you saw Schoop. He realized he had no play whatsoever at first, so he initially fielded the ball and immediately looked to third base. That angle looks like he's out.
Well, it's hard to tell because he tags him up on the shoulder. But remember, maybe this is a little closer. No, really can't even tell there, but it's probably almost to the backside. And the only way you change it is if there really is proof that the call was wrong. So if you think it might have been a tie or not, it's going to be called out. Very much like the play with Adam Jones. Adam Jones may have been safe, but they called him out and there wasn't enough to turn it. But this is a little bit more important because it keeps the inning alive if they change the call.
So a long delay as Mike Everett, who is the crew chief, and the home plate umpire Paul Emmel are talking to the umpires on duty in New York City at the replay center. Andrews is telling Schoop, hey, I was safe.
And he might have been. But again, what they're going to judge the call in New York is, was there enough to overturn the call?
Well, Tillman will stay loose. This will be a big play in this game. If it stands, the inning is over.
Well, Mazzara, the next hitter, who's already driven with a looping single to center, the only run that the Rangers had tonight.
It's amazing. I mean, I realize they're looking at however many angles they have, and they have both television feeds. They have the Rangers and they have ours. But I mean, it's not that there's so much there that they can say, oh yeah, he missed it, he's safe. This is really taking a long time.
Yeah, that's one thing that amazes me, and is that it does take that long, because either there's proof that the call should be overturned or there isn't.
All right, here we go. We're going to get the verdict. And he's out. So the call will stand. And that is a big, big play in this game. Heads up by Jonathan Schoop. So if Texas threatens, doesn't score, we'll head to the 6th with the Birds clinging to a 2-1 lead. Now for our Yellowwood bringing the lumber. Well, the Orioles have 5 hits in this game, a Reimold double, a Rickard double to get him in. And there was the Trumbo long home run to right center field. How about a single by Jonathan Schoop and another double by Nolan Reimold. Yellowwood bringing the lumber. Jonathan Schoop very alert and got Tillman out of the inning.
Yeah, if you're Elvis Andrus, you think that you might have a chance to score on the ricochet, and you just come up maybe really looked like about a couple of inches too far, and then the great throw. I mean, it was a superb throw to get that tag. And I think Jonathan Scope, Manny Machado with an outstanding arm, Scope right there with him. And that gets you out of the inning.
2-0 on Chris Davis, who has popped up to third and flied out. Another fastball count. He doesn't get.
Nope. Yeah, a little cutter, just a little movement.
Rolls over on it, pulls it foul.
Yeah, we get all these numbers, and in their notes, if you get Cole Hamels, who got to what, 3 runs or less 22 out of 34 times, if you get him 3 or more, he's 15-2. And Tillman so far has kept the Rangers the only one. When he came over last year, he lost his first game, then won 7 in a row. They averaged 6.88 runs for him. So he pitched well, and they scored a ton of runs when he was on the mound. Great combination.
And there's a leadoff walk. So Chris Tillman with another patient at bat. He heads to first with nobody down. Don't forget, every Sunday home game this year, all the kids 14 and under can run the bases at Oriole Park. Make every Sunday family day at Camden Yards as you enjoy a great afternoon of Orioles baseball. And then cap it off with a lifelong memory as you watch your kids run around the base paths, the same base paths of their favorite birds. Now, the next Sunday game is May the 1st when the O's take on the White Sox. For tickets, Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. Here's Mark Trumbo. He takes a strike. That is the second walk allowed by Hamels. He walked Wieters with 2 down in the 4th. Who was left stranded because of a great running catch by DeShields in center field.
Now see that 2. Let's see if it's a curveball, and it is. Yeah, Mark Trumbull, when you're hot, he didn't let anything bother him. I think he thought that first pitch, that changeup was low, and he goes, okay. Not what I want, but.
Well, Trumbo on the trip now has 3 home runs and 6 RBIs. Upstairs, he wouldn't chase the high fastball.
Yeah, you look at Mark's numbers, and when you look at him, he's always been a fast starter. Much better numbers in April and May. Maybe that'll change this year.
And a good take. Wouldn't chase the changeup outside. Tom Wilhelmsen, former closer with Seattle, now in the Texas bullpen. Hamels is at 94 pitches now as he works here in the 6th. Slow roller towards third. It goes foul. Unfortunate for Hamels, it did. Beltre with the power hitting Trumbo up was deep. Adrian Beltre, 4 Gold Gloves at third base. 19th year in the big leagues. He was 19 years old when he came up in 1998 with the Dodgers.
Yeah, he had the 5-year deal with Seattle, and then signed another 5-year deal.
Well, first a 1-year deal with Boston.
Yeah, right. That's where, to me, that's where, I never saw him with the Dodgers. But he almost hit 50 home runs that year, and then he was a free agent.
Went to Seattle.
But the year in Boston is when Dave McAdam was a hitting instructor, used right field, which he still does so well. Mark Trumbo certainly can do that too.
Strike 3 call. Trumbo does not agree.
Yeah, kind of frustrating. You think you know the strike zone, and it's gotten a little bit bigger. And Cole Hamels says, well, why not throw it in there? I saw what happens when I go out over the plate. He homered to right center field. Might have been a little cutter. And he gets the call, very much like the strikeout of Rickert. Runners at second and third a couple of innings ago.
Matt Wieters walked his last at bat. Matt is now just 1 for his last 13. Borderline pitch goes Wieters' way, 1-0. Hamels pitched the game here in Texas on opening day that the Rangers won despite having just one hit off King Felix. They won it 3-2.
A couple of errors, I believe, in that game for the Mariners.
He went 7 innings, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, and the 2 runs were on the solo home runs by Cano and Seager. Strike at the knees, 2-1.
But very few pitches, as we mentioned, in the middle of the plate. Even the one that Trumbull hit was up and away. And there's a little extra at 92. And the other thing that Cole Hamels is going to do as a guy that's in his 11th year pitching is when you look at what has to happen, you got Martin Perez coming off Tommy John surgery. You got Derek Holland, who pitched very well. We'll see him on Sunday. Shoulder and knee problems the last 2 years. He's going to make them better pitchers because they're both left-handed. And the one thing that Jeff Bannister talked about is the work ethic, the preparation. And when you have younger guys, who do you look up to? Guys like Cole Hamels.
So another 3-2 count. All 3 batters this inning have gone to 3-2. Wieters, line drive, base hit down the right field line. That ball hits to the corner. Mazara going to dig it out. And being held at third is Davis. And on at second with a double is Matt Wieters. What a good piece of hitting there.
Well, it's almost like an excuse me, I'm going to protect home plate. I think that's what he was doing with 2 strikes. Take a look right here. I mean, it's a change up, maybe in the middle of the plate. And he just slices it down the right field line. And you see Moreland can't get it. Mazara gets to it pretty quickly.
Hamels turned his back because he saw Bannister coming out. See, there's the veteran getting the respect.
Well, I think what this might be about is, okay, 1 out. I have a guy that's really swinging the bat. Launched one at the left center that the Shields ran down, and J.J. Hardy hit a couple of 2-run home runs, healthy, swinging the bat well. Do I maybe want to walk him? But again, that's no bargain. With scope on deck. But it may be set up the double play, or maybe bring the infield in. That was just a kind of a strategy meeting. Veteran pitcher, second-year manager.
So they are going to pitch to Hardy, draw the infield in. Another chance to add to this lead for the O's. 1-0.
Yeah, and they'll do it on their terms.
Hardy's got a 3-game hitting streak going. He is 0 for 2 in this one, robbed by DeShields. Good take, ball 2.
Yeah, that is not what he's trying to get in the air. And that's what he's trying to do here. Get a ball that you can hit out of the infield. The infield's in. Don't swing at your pitch till you get to 2 strikes. And see if you get something that's hittable.
Line drive towards left center field. Desmond over, and he makes a sliding catch. No, it's in there for a base hit. He trapped it. Davis will score, and it's a 3-1 game. The second base umpire, Pat Holberg, really good job in that. Immediately made the call. So an RBI single for Hardy.
And Desmond's going, what's going on here? Rockets and fireworks out here, and this is what you're talking about, Jim. Ball is lasered out there, and you could see the trap. Certainly one of those balls that if he doesn't get the leather on, is going to go right by him, probably for a double or a triple.
Well, Wieters went to third. Hardy's on at first with an RBI single, and the O's have chased Cole Hamels. Pitching change at Texas. We're in the 6th. 3-1 O's.
Cole Hamels, so you can see maybe the cutters in that fastball. So that number down, that goes into the breaking ball column. Change-ups, a lot of them. Again, the Orioles get 3 runs. Now our Jiffy Lube pitching change, brought to you by Jiffy Lube. Who would like to pitch you a change? Regular oil changes are proven to keep your car on the road longer. Drive in today. Tom Wilhelmsen, he can 4 pitches, as you mentioned, 13 saves last year for Seattle. Fastball 93. We've got a slider at 86, curveball and changeup. So a 4-pitch guy that pitches out of the bullpen. And there's a nice little slider.
Jonathan is 1 out of 2. He singled his last at bat.
Well, right there, that is a take that, again, a slider that's a double play slider, and he took it. Trying to get something that he hit in the air. Less than 2 outs. You want to put a ball, drive it somewhere if you can.
There's a double play ball. Andrews, Odor, Moreland. Wilhelmsen comes in and ends the threat. And the Orioles are down to the 6th, but a big add-on run mid-6th. O's with a 3-1 lead.
Highlights a nice defense by the Orioles right here, and then nice curveball from Tillman. He gets Odor to swing through it, and here comes Nolan Raimo, sliding catch in right center field. And here's a pivotal play, 2-1 at the time, off the pitching rubber it appeared, and then Scope heads up play, tagged by Machado to get the Orioles and Chris Tillman out of the inning. The Orioles now lead it after 5.5, 3-1. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote.
Well, another tremendous defensive game, and here's Tillman in the 6th inning. The Orioles certainly needed an extended start here tonight. The Orioles, in their 7 starts, 5 innings or less, and 1 start of 7 innings. There's a base hit for Mazzara, and that one goes all the way to the wall. It got out there in a hurry. Jones gets it back in. Mazzara's going to pull up at second with a double.
Yeah, pitch count now at 79. So, this kid, again, a youngster, only 20 years old. And that's now 2 hits. 1 drove in the only run so far for the Rangers. And right here, he kind of sets the table with a Fielder and the heart of the lineup coming up.
The only start extended by the Orioles was Ubaldo Jimenez a week ago last Thursday. He went 7 innings against Minnesota and picking up the win. The other 7 starts, all 5 innings or less. Here's Fielder. Popped him up. Scope is calling. And he squeezes it for the out, 1 away. So Fielder out on 1 pitch. Well, we hope you can join us again tomorrow. More O's action. The road trip continues. It'll be Vance Worley on the mound against Martin Perez. Our coverage on Masson 2 will begin at 7:30 with those extra presented by Jeep. And then game coverage at 8 o'clock. We've got all the access you need right here on Masson.
Take a look, Vance Worley. Again, he'll get a second start. Pitched very well in his first one. And then Martin Perez coming off Tommy John surgery. And apparently his arm a lot better. And they're going to be in the picture all year long for the Rangers.
Beltre singles to center field. Adam Jones up with it. They're going to hold the runner at third as Adam fires in.
Now, third time through the order, you can't stay in the middle of the plate. So this inning, other than Fielder, who popped up a changeup that was up in the zone, both the Mazzara and now the Beltre base hits. And the one thing about Adrian Beltre, he does not miss belt high pitches. He may line them at somebody or whatever. But again, a couple of hittable pitches, and the Rangers trying to get back into this game.
Well, looking at the lineup card there. Well, here is Mitch Moreland, who is 0 for 2. He's popped foul to Machado down the left field line, and then lined out to Reimold in right. So if Tillman could get a double play ball here to end the inning. This is outside with a fastball.
And of course, he's trying to look for something that he can hook into right field, because you have to hold Beltre on. Huge hole over there. And Moreland, pretty good fastball hitter. And as we mentioned, a couple of 2-run home run games against the Orioles last year. Plenty of power. Yeah, you really look at his numbers. I mean, if you had platooned him last year, he would have hit 294 with 18 of his home runs, with a slugging percentage over 500 against right-handed pitching. And lefty is under 250 with 5 of those 23 home runs.
Popped him up, shallow left, long run for Rickard. Still coming on, doesn't get there, and it's in for a base hit. A run will score, and it's going to be a double. Well, that is unfortunate for Tillman. Nothing but a pop-up, and he placed it perfectly.
Well, again, you shift. You know, Tillman makes a good pitch, and there's nobody playing there. And this ball, you know, he's talking about Ray Guy, the punter, Hall of Fame punter for the Oakland Raiders. Hang time. That ball had plenty of hang time, but nobody playing because he's way over in left center field.
And because the ball got by Rickard, Moreland able to get into scoring position as well.
Yeah, the minute that ball was going to drop, he was going to be at second anyway, because the ball was up in the air so long.
So it's a 3-2 game and 2 in scoring position, still only 1 out. Here's Ian Desmond. Vicious cut, but he missed. 0-1.
Well, you can see a lot of pitches up. That was a backup slider. So you had a high fastball that started in into Mazzara, high fastball to Beltre, unlucky with Moreland, and then a high slider. So the pitch count now at 84.
Weak ground ball to first. Davis thinks about it and has no play. Scope was at first, but Davis looked to the plate, and then he had no play, and we are tied. That'll be a weak infield single to draw even.
Yeah, another backup slider, and he gets jammed. But he hits it so softly, there isn't a play. Take a look right here, inside out. I mean, just saw it off. I mean, there's going to be a play at the plate, except that Chris Davis can't get it out of his glove. And now the words of wisdom from pitching coach Dave Wallace.
Michael Gibbons now getting loose for the Orioles. We are back even at 3. 4 hits in this inning. A bloop double, a sawed-off single on the infield. And still only 1 man down. And here is Rougned Odor, 1 out of 2 with a double. This ball's trouble down the left field line. Rickard won't get it, and it's in for a base hit. Here's Moreland to score. Desmond coming around. He's coming towards the plate. He will score, and going to third is Odor. And the Rangers have exploded here for 4 runs and have a 5-3 lead.
Well, a couple of doubles for Odor, one down the right field line, and they just took a fastball and went right with it. You'll see it right here. Two-seam fastball away, just slices it. You get no hang time on this, just a line drive that's going to fade away from the record at left, and because of the speed factor, they're going to score easily.
The umpires are waiting for Buck Showalter, and here he comes. So we're going to get a pitching change, and oh, did this unravel in a hurry for Tillman. He had allowed 1 run in 5 innings on just 77 pitches, and here in the 6th, a bit unfortunate, but they still count, and he exits on the short end of a 5-3 game.
There is the pitch arsenal, and the Rangers get to him in here in the 6th, so not as many fastballs. Again, a lot of young hitters, a lot of fastball hitters tried to throw other pitches. And this inning, some balls up, and they took advantage of that fact. Michael Gibbons comes on. Boy, he's done a nice job. We have told you many times. Mike Bordick talking about it. Converted infielder. Again, some runs early on, but Boston struck out 4 in his last appearance. Fastball in the mid-90s. You can see lefties this year, and it's not a whole lot of at-bats hitting him, and righties are struggling. But great slider and a fastball that can be anywhere from 93 to 97. And the Orioles will play the infield in because they don't want to give up that 6th run.
Fastball as Andrus can't reach it.
So again, movement and velocity, and the fact that there is a lot of deception there. There you go, Andrus just trying to get a ball in the air.
And he does, pace it up the middle. Odor scores, and it's 6-3.
Well, great approach. In fact, this entire Ranger lineup, with the exception of Ian Desmond, who got jammed, has put on a hitting exhibition right here. It's I think a backup slider. It stays inside, and what does Andrus do? Use the middle of the field. Didn't get out in front, stayed inside it, and drove it right back up the middle.
So the inherited runner scores. Still only 1 down, and here's Holiday, the number 9 batter. He is the 8th hitter this inning.
Yeah, maybe a little different running situation here. See if Jeff Bannister, with speed at first now, will allow Andrus to run.
The Rangers had 4 hits in their first 5 innings. They have 6 hits in this inning. And Holiday fouls it back. Gibbons in his first 2 appearances of the year on opening day and then on Wednesday. Keller gets up. Gibbons allowed 3 earned runs in those 2, but back-to-back scoreless appearances since then.
He's got terrific stuff, and he does have movement, but he is still learning to really command his pitches and his stuff. Because let's face it, you're young, you can throw in the mid-90s. That's what they're hitting off of. So if you hang a slider, it speeds the bat up. And if you throw enough fastballs in the middle of the plate, all you have to do is watch Major League Baseball. You realize that doesn't phase a whole lot of hitters anymore. Now, if you make your pitches out of the middle of the plate, up and out of the zone, down and away. How about Craig Kimbrell? What did he do when he threw a 97-mile-per-hour fastball to Chris Davis, 3-run home run last night? 97 to 99, made a lot of good pitches, struck out the side. So how hard you throw, you better make some good pitches. And they get me over slider against these guys, because what happens, Jim, is, you know, they look at the scouting reports and they go, oh, Michael Gibbons uses the slider. He just starts it on the inside of righties. Well, look for that pitch. And that's much more hittable than 93 to 97 if it's well located.
Paying a lot of attention to Andrews.
Well, he knows this is a running situation.
And now those missed opportunities for the O's are looming larger as they trail by 3. That's a good slider.
Well situated.
The Orioles had 2nd and 3rd. Nobody out in the 5th and didn't score, so they stranded 2 in scoring position there. Then in the 6th, when they did score 1 run, Scope double play ball to end the inning. They left Weeder stranded at 3rd.
Well, Helmsen came in and made a terrific pitch to get him to roll over. And then go back to when Hamels was able to, at 2nd and 3rd, get a couple of strikeouts, get out of that trouble. Again, against a good hitting lineup, sometimes it's just damage control, almost like a prevent defense, and then hope that your team will come back with some offense. As we mentioned, both of these teams equal in scoring runs. Very capable of putting a big inning on the board. And that's what the Rangers have done here in the 6th.
Yeah, they took advantage of the bloop double and the infield hit. And this one gets away from Weeders. So all that concern of trying to keep Andrews at first, and the ball gets by the catcher.
Yeah, slider that just starts about a foot, maybe 18 inches off the plate, and keeps going. I think Matt thought he was going to catch it. He tried to backhand it.
Well, 2-2 on Holiday. Just inside, ball 3.
And that's a pitch that if you go back, Buck Showalter's going to have a quizzical look. I mean, that's a slider that starts just off the plate. We saw Hamels get a lot of balls off the corner. This one, you know, it's a little bit of a backup slider, but it appeared to have part of the plate. But you don't get the call, and the inning continues.
Pop up, back of the plate. Will Weeders have room? No. Walter's team has gone from up 3-1 to down 6-3. And here comes the 7th pitch of this at bat to Holiday. Make that 8th pitch. And he got him.
Yeah, there's a pitcher's pitch.
Two men down. He can't reach the slider.
Yeah, Perfectly thrown down and away.
And here is Delino DeShields, who has been a tough out tonight. He's 2 for 3. His last at bat, he singled off of Chris Tillman's foot.
Yeah, that ball right back up the middle. It was hard to tell whether it got the back of his foot or it actually hit the pitching rubber, and then caromed over to Scope, who was able to throw out Andrus at third base. Got him out of the inning.
Ball and a strike on DeShields.
Well, eventually they will get Jew back. He's got a strained calf. Who hit, what, he hit 343 in the month of August and then 400 in September. Long-term deal. Josh Hamilton. I almost forget him because he hasn't been healthy since he came over from the Angels last year.
Now Givens gets ahead 1-2. DeShields, the 9th batter to come up here as Texas bats around in the 6th inning. Andrus is bothering Givens, so he turns and looks him back. And he struck him out. Good slider down and away ends it, but a big damaging inning as Texas comes up with 5 runs. We'll head to the 7th. 6-3 Rangers. AL East, Cleveland in the finale of that series shut out Tampa Bay 6-0. Strong effort from Salazar, 6-0 there. And the Blue Jays beat the Yankees 4-2 behind Marcus Stroman. They had to come from behind in that game. So the Blue Jays are now 5-5. The Yankees fall to 4-4. And Tampa Bay, they are 3-6. They're in last place in the division. Chris Tillman had a lead get away. And here is Keone Kela coming on to preserve a 3-run lead.
Yeah, power pitcher, 93 to about 95. Big overhand curveball, occasional. It's hard to tell it's a changeup because that's a 90. Changeup's 90. And last year, first full year in the big leagues, and gets the highest strike at 93.
Reimold has had a good night in the number 9 spot. 2 doubles and a run scored. Nolan has seen Keller just once. He is 0 for 1.
Well, they put 5 on the board. That's what the Orioles are going to have to do to get back in this game. 1 or 2 here.
You mentioned the Rangers bullpen has not been good overall. They're 13th out of 15 teams with a 5.22 ERA, but it's a little bit misleading. They had just a horrible start. At one point, the bullpen's ERA, Jim, was 15.75. But in the last 7 games, they've turned it around.
A lot of new names out there. There's another big hook that no one's able to foul off. I mean, Tony Barnett comes out of Japan. Claudio just called up. How about Phil Klein? Their starters have been so good. He got to pitch twice, 2 scoreless outings, and they sent him back to Round Rock because their starters, they need a lefty in the bullpen, and that's how Claudio gets up there. Diekman came in the Hamels trade, hard thrower, who did get the walk-off loss in Seattle yesterday.
Reimold down on strikes. Sakella gets a K, 1 away.
Now, you don't get to see the big overhand curveball, and then again, it's almost like you say, okay, you can just walk up there and drop it low and away, and that's what he does.
The 1 away. That is only the 4th Orioles strikeout of the night. Here's Joey Rickard, 1 out of 3 with an RBI double. Comes right at him with a fastball for strike 1.
Oh, he's got a good one.
And he won't chase. It's upstairs. Andrew Faulkner, one of the 3 left-handers in that 8-man bullpen. Rangers at the moment going with a 3-man bench, and TJ McFarland is up for the O's. Two and 1 as Rickard looks it over. Surveying the defense there.
And he'll probably sit on a fastball right here.
Strike on the corner.
'68 games for Keller last year. 12th round draft choice. Never ever started a game in the minor leagues. One of those guys just groomed to be a bullpenner.
Ball 3 upstairs. Another 3-2 count. The Orioles had 7 3-2 counts against Cole Hamels, 7 of the 25 batters. But Hamels got big outs, and the Orioles had difficulty with the add-on runs.
If the Rangers win this start, it will be 13 straight they've won when Hamels started. He's won, what, 9 in a row.
And that's unfortunate. That would have been ball 4, and it hit the bat. And I think it hit the knob of the bat.
Well, that happened up in Boston. I'll take a look right here. Start it, stop it. Yeah, how do you do that twice in about 3 games? That's bat control.
Unlucky there. He'd be on first.
Well, he's lucky that he didn't get hit in the hand, too.
And fights off the 8th pitch in this at bat to stay alive. Keller's out of Los Angeles, now lives in Long Beach. Another 3-2 pitch here to Rickard. And he fouls it off. He's about to turn 23, Keller. His birthday is on Saturday. Of course, Joey has never seen him before. Michael Gibbons came on, allowed 1 inherited runner to score, but then got out of that jam. Strike 3 call.
Yeah, the top of the zone. So the home plate umpire Paul Hemmel. You get the Buck Showalter look. It might have been high. It probably was, but it was nicely brought down by Brian Holiday. Watch him drag it down in the zone. When you move it a couple of inches like that, you know it's a borderline pitch.
So back-to-back strikeouts. Here's Manny, who's 0 for 3. Line drive, base hit. So he extends his hitting streak to 9 consecutive games to begin the year with a 2-out single. For every Orioles walk, CareFirst Blue Cross Blue Shield will contribute $50 to support the Be More for Healthy Babies. The Orioles have drawn 29 walks so far for a total of $1,450. CareFirst Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier and a more active lifestyle.
Well, let's see if Adam Jones thinks about maybe laying one down. We've seen him bunt. Beltre about 5 steps behind third base. Faulkner up just in case Chris Davis gets to the plate out in the bullpen.
Off the hand of the pitcher, but it goes to Odor, and he'll get Jones at first, and that ends the inning. The ball at the pitching hand of Kella. Base hit, 1 left, 7th inning stretch, 6-3 Texas. Five-run bottom of the 6th with a 6-3 lead as we go to the home half of the 7th. And Jim, here's T.J. McFarland taking over for the O's.
Well, you can see 71% fastball. It's a sinker, ground ball specialist. Gets lefties and righties out. A little bit of a slider and then change up. And off to a good start. Spring training delayed a little bit with some elbow problems, but got healthy. And down the stretch pitched very well. Gave up a run, pitched twice in Boston, gave up a run when he walked Brock Holt, and then left the ball game, and that run scored. So he's pitched very well, and again, he gives you, along with Tyler Wilson, Dylan Bundy, 3 guys in the Oriole bullpen that can give you multiple innings. He did 16 times last year where he pitched more than 1 inning.
Well, he's already in his 4th game on the year as the Orioles play their 9th game. Nomar Mazara, the rookie. He'll turn 21 on April 26th. Signed with the Rangers when he was 16 years old out of the Dominican Republic. And it's all about opportunity. Sin-Soo Choo gets hurt, goes on the DL, and here's Mazara in the big leagues. Left field playable for Rickard. And Joey's got it, and 1 away here in the 7th inning. Well, you can follow Orioles baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day. You get live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. You know, the shift now on with Prince Fielder up. Breaking ball for a strike.
Yeah, they expect him to pull, but boy, he can use the whole field, like we've seen tonight. And if you watch the Rangers hit, they do hit it all over.
Yeah, to strike on the corner.
Yeah, good slider, fastball on the black. A little black edge around home plate. Now a little slider, started in the strike zone. Throw it underneath the, and just misses.
When Prince Fielder was traded here from Detroit, he was unable to get the number 28 that he wore as he goes down on strikes, both with Milwaukee and Detroit. So he went to number 84, which is kind of an unusual number for a veteran. But the reason he did that is that's the year he was born. And he swings through a breaking ball here.
Got a good one.
There's now the manager, Jeff Bannister, on this team, wears number 28. So Prince is happy with his birthday on his back. Beltre singled in that rally in the 6th inning. He's 1 out of 3. Off the glove, back to the screen.
Yeah, 5 IBR game up in Seattle. The Orioles, but Trumbo did that. Hardy did it. Coming in vogue. Runs up, home runs up. Why is that, Jim? I don't know.
Off speed pitch, fouls it back.
Yeah, Beltre trying to hit one right there. Is it because they're not calling a low strike? Even though it seems like it got called up in Boston a little bit.
Sam Dyson getting loose in the Texas pen.
Another one of the acquisitions by John Daniels right before the trading deadline. How they ever got, I mean, well, they gave up 2 young players for him, but boy, did he pitch well for the Rangers, with the one exception, the home run by Bautista in Game 5 of the division series.
Well, whoever runs the Texas farm system should be in demand. Their scouting director and whoever runs it, because with all these trades they made, I mean, they gave up 6 to get Hamels, and they still have more. Very close pitch, goes for ball 4. So Beltre will take a walk.
Well, that was, you know, it's one of those things when you talk to a lot of advanced scouts that saw the young players. I think Jose Alfaro, and there's a couple of pitchers in there. In fact, one of them, as we said, Jared Eichhoff pitched 7 innings, 4 hits last night, no walks, 9 strikeouts for the Phillies. So, you know, it works both ways. But Dyson, you know, it just seemed like if you're going to be a good team, and he comes from the Marlins, how do you give up a youngster? He's probably making, you know, $550,000, you know, which is a little bit over the minimum. And then he comes over here, and I mean, you know, he throws in the mid-90s, got a change up, the bottom drops out on it, and he makes this team better. But you're right, that's what you're looking for, and you have to have young players to be able to go out and do that. Yeah, the biggest trades in the American League last year, or at least coming over, was the Hamels trade, 6 for 2, and then the David Price. I mean, we rented him for a couple of months. Toronto gave up 3 young pitchers.
Into the shift, Hardy will cut it off. Fires and gets him by a step. Well, Moreland busted it down the line. He's retired, and a good inning for T.J. McFarland. We'll head to the 8th. The O's come to bat, down by 3. Promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And let's go to the fourth inning. 2 outs, nobody on. Mark Trumbo gets in the one off of Cole Hamels and hits it long out of here into the Texas bullpen for his 3rd of the year. J.J. Hardy making that last play. Awkward throw to get the out. Of course, with J.J. always have to be concerned, Jim, because of his back history.
Yeah, well, again, last year was a shoulder dive in spring training. Look at this. I mean, he has to torque and pretty much throwing it going out to right center field. So tremendous stress on the lower back. And again, Sam Dyson will come in. I mean, there's the sinker, occasional breaking ball, but changeup goes straight down, throws in the mid-90s. Originally signed with Toronto, picked up by Miami on waivers this year. And of course, the numbers not quite as good as they were last year. Can throw the ball and make it sink. About a 1.15 ERA in 31 games last year for the Rangers once it came over.
Orioles down by 3, need base runners. 1-0 on Davis.
And there's the changeup. They look alike. A lot of movement on both of them. One 91 to 93 and the other one 84.
Good take, 2-1. Right, Brock now getting loose. Tyler Wilson yesterday pitching 3 scoreless innings enabled Buck Showalter to rest everybody else for the beginning of the series. No relievers. There's Tyler in the Orioles pen. Other than Tyler even got up to get loose in the bullpen. Because the Orioles trailed 4-2 when he came in, but he shut it down, gave his team a chance. Orioles just couldn't come back in that one. And Davis took.
Yeah, well, 3-1 down by 3 runs. That's what you want to do. Make him throw a strike, and he did.
And another 3-2 count. And there's ball 4, and there's a leadoff walk. So with this lineup with the Orioles, we have seen it. There's no place to relax.
Well, what you'd like to have to do is make Jeff Bannister come in and bring his guys in when they're under pressure. Well, how do you do that? You get some guys on. And again, the Orioles have so many players that can, with one swing, change the complexion of the game.
But Showalter with Michael Givens. So the teaching goes on during the game as well. Maybe discussing the at-bat to Andrus when he left the slider out over the plate for an RBI single. Ooh, vicious cut.
Yeah, a lot of movement. And late movement. I think it's going to be in the middle of the plate. It just keeps running right at you if you're Mark Trumbo, a right-handed batter.
Davis at first. Leadoff walk, 0-2 on Trumbo. Doesn't chase the breaking ball outside. Mark 1 out of 3 with the home run. Good start in his Orioles career. He has hits in 7 of the 9 games. And another good take. Texas has the infield at double play deck. He just did get a piece. Trumbo has seen Dyson before. He is 1 out of 3 against him. And you see Andrus at short. Odor shading up the middle, and he's playing a double play deck. For Trumbo, the outfield plays straight away because you have no choice. He hits it all over. And he got a real good pitch down and in.
Yeah, the changeup and the fastball, other than maybe the 7-8 mile per hour difference, they both look alike come out of your hand. Probably a two-seam changeup that just runs in, but it's 7 miles per hour slower. And Mark Trumbo swings right through it.
Here's Matt Wieters, who has a double and a walk, batting left-handed for the first time tonight. And then rolls over on it but pulls it foul. Davis back to first.
Yeah, Sam Dyson in that division series, he was on the mound after a couple of errors by Elvis Andrus in that 7th inning. They had a 3-2 lead. He's a tremendous bat flip by Jose Bautista. It was the only run he gave up, but it ended up being a 3-run home run.
And knocked down by Odor. Goes to Andrews for one. Back to first for a double play. Wow. He not only robs Wieters of a base hit, he turns it into an inning-ending double play.
Well, certainly not conventional over the shoulder, but if he doesn't catch it, Orioles may be on their way to a big inning. Look at that little toss.
Brought to you by Coons.com. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting.
Oh, there you go. The White Sox. They're certainly trying to improve. One of those acquisitions last year just didn't play well. Of course, the Rays, seems like every year, McGee no longer one of them, but they always seem to get it on. And then the Yankees, even though Chapman is suspended, they have an outstanding bullpen. And then the Royals, that's how they became world champs. Brad Brock. Happy birthday.
2 days late.
So third. Well, that's all right. You know, it's about the thought, Jim. Fastball, a slider, great changeup. All he does is pitch well, and let's hope he comes in 1, 2, 3 innings, and then they have a big 9th inning. That's what he does. He swoops down on victories. He's the Phil Regan.
Yep, the vulture of the Orioles bullpen. Desmond had an infield hit and an RBI plus a run scored in that 5-run rally. Brock has been in 5 games on the year, and as you saw, his numbers perfect.
Well, his stuff, you know, the only time he gets in trouble when he gets a little amped up and he'll get a little side to side, but his stuff awfully good. I mean, the changeup, we talked about Dyson having a good changeup, very similar. Ball dives, looks like a splitter. He can throw hard. You can see right there, 93 to 95. Probably order fastball number 1, change up right behind it, and then the slider when he gets on top of it. Don't throw it as much as his change. There's one.
Manny waits on the hop and guns it across to get Desmond.
97 on the radar gun across the diamond.
You know, it's interesting about Brock. was talking about when he got drafted, and you look at how adept he is and how consistent he is, and he's become. He was a 42nd round draft pick out of college when the Padres took him, and he thinks, looking back on it, one of the reasons was in college he does not throw, or did not throw, as hard as he does in the pros and now in the big leagues. And he said when he was a minor leaguer in San Diego, they had such an outstanding throwing program that he was able to build up strength, and as a result he gained velocity.
And you can do that. I mean, you get bigger, stronger, mechanics maybe get a little bit better, more mature, and then the throwing program certainly can help. I always thought, you know, apparently maybe had a little bit of labrum problems, you know, but otherwise he's got starter stuff. He's got 3 pitches. There's a splitter with a changeup. But again, I think well situated in this bullpen.
He was telling me that during spring training, in the games in which several minor leaguers would come over and they'd be there for every game, Buck called them the what if guys. You know, games got out of hand and you need to go to it. He'd be sitting in the bullpen talking to some of the minor leaguers, and several of them said to him that he's their inspiration because he was a 42nd round pick and he's in a big league bullpen. You don't see very many guys drafted this low who are key members of a contending team's bullpen. And he got him, blew away Odor.
And it's not easy to do. Odor with a couple of doubles, one to the left, one down the right field line. But good pitching stops good hitting. Right there, fastball just rides it at 95. And one of the reasons you're able to do that, look like a two-seamer that just runs away from the bat head, is that you have other pitches. And they already know that. And once you get to 2 strikes, you've got a lot of options if you can get there if you're pitching.
Elvis Andrus now. Hard hit ball right to Manny. And guns it across, and Brock has a very quick 3-up, 3-down inning. Well, here we go. Buckle up. We head to the 9th. Orioles come to bat, down by 3. Orioles baseball on MASN is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by visitannapolis.org. Create your moment at visitannapolis.org. In one of the kids' areas, getting a chance to throw at the speed gun. Well, that one had good velocity on it. Here's the closer on Tollison to try to close it out.
Well, you talked about hometown boy, comes from Dallas, so good fastball, little slider, change up, 35 out of 37. That was last year. I picked him up on waivers the winter of before 2014. So he's coming into this season about 137 games. You can see righties and lefties. So this year, maybe not as obviously as good as last year. Looking at a save situation here, trying to make it 3 out of 4. You talked about Will Helmson coming over from Seattle. It's almost like they're going just in case we're going to have some backup people. a lot. 35 out of 37. That's quite a year. It looked to me last year that kind of maybe we'll get an idea with J.J. Hardy coming up if he did hurt his back, but he could make some pitches.
Chopper towards third. There's Beltre. One down in the Oriole ninth.
Yeah, it seemed like he was talking about J.J. Good slider right there that he rolls over. That he was running pretty well. Always runs a little bit like it's painful. Certainly not favoring the back. Hopefully, going to his left, he did not aggravate it.
The one down here, Scope. Jonathan 1 out of 3, and he bounced into an inning-ending double play in the 6th. The difference in this game, really, Jim, is the add-on runs. Texas able to do it, the Orioles not. 5 of the 6 Texas runs coming in that rally. They sent 9 men to the plate in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, the 5th inning, runners at second and third, nobody out. Couple of strikeouts and a ground out. And then Will Helmsley comes in and makes a perfect pitch, gets scoped to hit the bouncer to Anderson. They turn the double play. First and third.
Now visit MASNsports.com. Care First to vote for tonight's Care First Live Fearless Player of the Game. Live fearless with the name trusted for over 75 years. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield. That is a fair ball. The throw across. Look at that play by Beltre.
I don't know what he's doing on the line with a 3-run lead like that, but maybe this is, as you mentioned, Gold Glover. Numbers certainly getting up there. You talk about wins above replacement. And he goes a long way, and Yesson went over the back because it was caught in foul territory, and then just got rid of it very quickly on one hop. It's almost like this is mano a mano, Machado and Beltre. Two of the better third basemen. Manny winning the Gold Glove, as you mentioned. Adrian already winning 4.
Hyun-Soo Kim will come off the bench and pinch hit for Reinmold to get a lefty up there. He started in the game last night at Fenway Park. Goes after the first pitch. That is a foul ball. An 0-1 on Kim, who is 2 for 5 in his 2 starts. The 2 hits came last Sunday at Camden Yards against Tampa Bay. Fastball upstairs.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how he's able to acclimate himself to not playing every day, something he did in Korea. Very, very difficult to stay as sharp as you'd like. And a good changeup. Collinson's got them all. You know, one of these 3-pitch closers. And at the end of the day, he can't be 35 out of 37 if you can't make good pitches, and that's what he was able to do last year.
Just inside. So 1-2 on Kim. Or excuse me, 2-2. Good take, ball 3.
Well, he ought to get a pitch right down the middle and hope it doesn't end there if you're Sean Tollison, because you get a 3-run lead. You have to make him put the ball in play. That's what they liked about him, is that if you want to walk him, he'll take it. That's what he did in Korea.
And a base hit in the right field for Kim. He turned on a fastball and pulled it.
And a pretty good one in '93, right in the wheelhouse. Well, part of hitting is to work the count to where, and especially when you're pitching to the scoreboard, where you can get a pitch to hit. And again, boy, he just drops the bat head. Perfect pitch to hit, puts a nice stroke on it, and the Orioles are still alive. And then you got Rickard to get on. You got Manny Machado in the hole. Home run power.
Well, the Orioles still have life. Rickard is 1 out of 4. Ooh, borderline pitch. Tolson got the call.
Well, he is a rookie. And it looks like the close pitches are going anything around the plate over the last 3-4 games. They play behind Kim. I don't think he's going to take a bag because of his speed, but well, your secondary lead's important here because you take the force away, and Rickard can run. There is no routine play on any ball in the hole if he hits it. And there he goes.
Ground ball past the mound. There's Odor. He will fire to get Rickard by a step, and Texas grabs the opener in this 4-game series. Well, the difference in the game, a big 6th inning, 5 runs turned a 3-1 lead into a 6-3 deficit, and the Rangers win it. Final score from Globe Life Park in Arlington: Texas 6, the Orioles 3. We'll be back.